I am expecting my first daughter with my husband in September. I grew up in a moderately religious household with pretty strictly defined gender roles. As in, since I was a girl, I had chores around the house while my younger brother did not have to do anything. I don't talk to my parents for a variety of reasons, going on year 5 now, so they do not know I am pregnant. Both my aunts and grandparents were very supportive of me leaving my household and as such have been my main family. Being 6 months pregnant now, people have started to give gifts and I am very grateful for them. We have decided that we don't want our daughter to be surrounded by pink everything with only girl things. So we have made a conscious effort to include traditionally boy outfits and toys like dinosaurs and cars. We have told people that any gender items would be accepted, and if it's getting too much pink, we have gone out to balance a bit. Getting a green jacket or something. My younger aunt has taken great offense to this because boys are boys and girls are girls. And she is a very verbal and loud person and has let us know several times her opinions. She has 2 boys. At my baby shower, my older aunt gifted us a book called Goodnight Construction Site and a little stuffed truck. My younger aunt went on a tirade about how we are somehow making our daughter trans and not allowing her to be a girl. And she's a loud person, so of course her saying this was more like a yell. And in front of my very liberal in-laws who are very supportive of our choice. Pregnancy hormones took over and I grabbed the toy, gave it to my younger aunt and asked her what part of the penis was needed to operate this toy truck. She yelled that's not what she meant and left. The rest of the baby shower went fine, but it was a bit awkward after. Since then she has been blowing up Facebook where a bunch of people agree with her that I am making my daughter trans, and have been telling me that I was an asshole. The rest of my think what we are doing is fine, but that I shouldn't have handled it that way. I do not care if she ends up loving pink and unicorns etc., we will get her them then. I just was trying to balance out the sheer amount of pink items we were getting from friends and family. Almost every single gift has been heavily pink or girl influenced. To the point where she would not be dressed in anything but pink if we did not go out and buy some more boy things. I also am generally not a person who argues. But I feel like a bit of an unholy because I intentionally said this as deadpan serious as I could and with the intent to embarrass her in front of our family members present. My delivery and question did have the intended effect and she went quite red before leaving. This was also the first transphobic comment I've ever heard out of her mouth. While we all grew up quite conservative, my older aunt coming out 27 years ago really changed my family's perspective. My grandparents have changed from what they previously viewed and my aunt was always supportive of my other aunt. My younger aunt always wanted a girl. So I thought she was just trying to act out her fantasy girl with all her gifts and preferences. I live with my parents and my brother. It's always been a dream of my parents to adopt me and bro, our bio kids. And they had come to the decision that they want to adopt an older kid. They got matched with Jess, who is 13. Due to the current situation, she is not living with us, but we've met before and she spent a weekend with us in January. Jess, despite sometimes being sweet and kind, is very high maintenance and has a lot of anxiety and anger problems. She can go from 0 to 1,000 really quick. During her stay, she got triggered by something when we were in public. She and I went to a clothes shop and my parents were in a cafe nearby. Some guy accidentally grabbed her by her shoulder as he thought she was his daughter, and he apologized immediately and started screaming. I was the only person there, and I tried to calm her down but she ran off. She was found, shaken, but safe, an hour later. I then got grounded as I had failed in being responsible for my sister. I said I didn't have a sister. My parents were angry about this and said that how dare I be rude about her, don't I know how much she's been through. She's had other outbursts, but none so huge in public. She can be cold and untrusting and was very clingy to my parents. I do admire her, and think she's very brave, but I don't want to live with her. My parents call Jess often. I often say hi, and try to be civil and supportive. But it seems like the only thing my parents can talk about is Jess, and how brave she is, and she isn't even here yet. We live in a 3-bedroom house, and my parents promised to move to a bigger one later this year. Recently, my parents broke the news to me that Jess will move into my room, and I can pick whether I want to share a room with bro or Jess. I don't want to share with either. My brother is messy, loud, and is your average 9-year-old boy, and Jess has night terrors and screams the house down. And it's enough having to open my house to her, but I value my privacy a lot and don't want her in my room, which is like my special place. I was crushed. I asked if we were still moving, and my parents were like, "We like this place and have no solid plan." I freaked out and was like, "You guys are forgetting you have another daughter and are too excited about the shiny new one to remember that the one you have has feelings and boundaries, and if you're changing everything I've ever known, at least I deserve to be listened to. If this is how life's going to be, I don't want to have a sister." Good to note, my room is big enough to have a wall put in, and my parents considered it a few years back. I would be happy with that. They refuse, even though we can easily afford it, because it is too much effort. My parents are offended that I'm not being welcoming towards my sister. And I'm offended that the life I knew is going to be turned upside down, and I'm not going to have the thing I value most, my privacy. I am a 32-year-old female, and I was raised Mormon, but I'm not now, nor do I follow any other religion. My mom is still very much in the cult. As such, she has the typical Mormon mindset regarding gender roles and all that bullshit. Granted, I still think she'd be this way without her religion, though maybe not as bad. We get along splendidly, except when the topic of her religion comes up, which doesn't often. She's visiting right now. I don't see her in person much, but she came down for my birthday. It's also important to note that I have 2 sons. My 5-year-old has a mohawk. My 3-year-old has shaggy, shoulder-length hair. He's never had a haircut for a multitude of reasons, none of which would even be asked if he were a girl. Not long after she got here, she started going in on his hair. This is not the first time she's given her opinion on it. Why don't I cut it? Don't I want to prevent him from being bullied? Or from people thinking he's a girl? Because he hasn't asked and I want it to be his choice. Because he acts like I'm murdering him when I brush his teeth and hair. Because he also flails around like he's having an exorcism, so imagine that with a pair of scissors. Because if someone sees long hair and assumes girl, that's on them, and a simple, he's a boy, corrects it. But mostly it's because I don't want to. She got pissed and said what she really thought, which was, well, I just don't like long hair on boys. Clearly. Yet she has no problem with my other son's mohawk. Guess that's boyish enough for her. And she said it in front of both my sons, which pissed me off. I said the first thing which came to my head, which was, if you have a problem with long hair on boys, I suggest you take it up with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You can start by asking him to get a haircut. Call John the barber. Bruh. If looks could kill, I'd be in outer darkness right now. She steeped in her anger for a while but didn't say anything else. She hasn't changed her opinion, nor will she. But I don't think she wants to get roasted again either, so she won't bring it up anymore. I feel like we're both assholes. As much as I hate her religion, that was also a low blow, and I have a tendency to speak first, regret later. Though I don't necessarily regret my words, I do regret how they made her feel. She is my mom after all. I am a 43-year-old female, have been with my partner, he's 50, for 6 years now. We have been living together for 5 of them. We are not married and we do not plan to marry in the future. I have a son, he's 19, that is currently a high school senior. My partner has a daughter, she's 21, who is going to college. When I met my partner, I was a widow of 3 years. I am lucky enough to have a very lucrative business and some family money. Also, my late husband left a substantial estate, including the house we live in. The house is a family home, so it passed to my son as the only heir. My partner also makes good money, and the difference in our lifestyles was pretty much negligible. But while I and my late husband made sure to not spoil our son, he was responsible for keeping his room clean. Even though we have a housekeeper, he had chores during the weekends. We taught him how to cook, his allowance is reasonable, he has to save for expensive purchases like a car, a PS5, etc. My current partner and his ex-wife spoil their daughter rotten. Due to an incident when we first moved in together, she demanded my son's bedroom since it was the second biggest. got rejected since it was his home and she only spends the weekend. And after some family therapy we agreed that she will be treated like a guest by me. She will have to follow the house rules and that at the extent of our relationship. Now while she is spoiled she is a good girl, academically excellent. Except for the aforementioned incident very respectful and just a pleasant young woman. The problem is that I did not know the extent to which my partner spent money on her. He pays some money as rent that I put into my son's college fund and we split the common bills in half. Everything else is our own responsibility so we don't know much about each other's finances. Now my son is planning to do a tour of East Asia during the summer and I was happy to give him the money to do so. As a gift for getting into a very prestigious college. When my stepdaughter heard about it she asked her dad to pay for a tour of Europe, since he didn't send her on one after she got into college. He agreed because he never says no. But he came to me asking me to lend him close to $30,000 because he can't afford the trip on his own. I am not even giving that much to my son and his plane tickets are more expensive. I refused. I said that since this wasn't an emergency he can save and send her on the trip after she graduates college. Now he is not talking to me, saying that I am choosing favorites. I have no relationship with his daughter so I don't know how that even is applicable. And that I am putting money over his happiness and relationship with his daughter. I can easily afford to lend him the full amount I just don't want to, because his reasons are not convincing enough.